everyone. Welcome to this Q&A session about postgraduate programs, postgraduate taught programs run by the English Language and Linguistics subject area at the University of Glasgow. My name is Joanna Kopaczyk-McPherson, and I am Professor of Scots and English Philology here at the University of Glasgow, and I convene the MSc in English Language and Linguistics. And I'm joined here by my colleague, Louis.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Louis Strange. I'm lecturer in sociolinguistics and I'm Joanna's counterpart, but I run the MSc Applied Linguistics rather than the MSc English Language and Linguistics.
And as you can see, we're very fortunate today. We're very pleased to also be joined by our wonderful students, Varshni and Chi, and we'll come to them in a moment because what the session really is based around is our chat with our students and answering any questions that have come to us or will come to us in the comments section, in the chat. And it's just going to be a conversation about these programs. I'm really, really pleased that our students could join us this morning and they will give us a little bit of their insider knowledge about what it's like to be a student on our two postgraduate programs. But we will start with just a quick introduction to what these programs are like, what they are all about, how they are structured. All this information is obviously already available on the website, and people who have looked at those details will probably find it helpful just to have them sort of introduced again. So if you know this stuff, bear with us. But I think it's useful and important to just run you through what these programs are like. And after these short introductions, we will start our more general session. And please feel free to put any questions in the chat, and we will try and pick them up as we go through any questions you may have or any aspects of the programs and the studying here at English Language and Linguistics, which we will discuss with Varshni and Chi. So the program MSc in English Language and Linguistics, which I convene, is our general program which you can choose if you're interested in language in more general terms. It is a 180 credit program, so you'll be taking courses for 60 credits in semester 1, 60 credits in semester 2, and then you're writing a dissertation, which is also 60 credits. So altogether, this is 180 credits. And this program is very flexible. As I said, it's our general program. So you have a lot of options. So in semester 1, you're taking the research training course, and then you have 2 options to choose from. And then in the second semester, you have 3 options to choose from, and this is the whole portfolio of courses we offer. You can have a look at the course catalog online, where you have the courses listed with their descriptions and the kinds of assessment that they require. And of course, we don't run all these courses every year, so it is useful to either get in touch with me or keep an eye on any information you get. If you're our offer holder, you'll get information about the kind of courses that are available to you, and then just put the courses together, put the portfolio together that you would like to study, and which aligns with your interests. So this is really quite a flexible option, and yeah, I think for anyone who wants to go a little bit deeper into questions of kind of linguistic nature from both the present day and the historical aspect of language development and language use in the present and in the past, this is the kind of program that caters for these kinds of interests. So now over to Louis to talk a little bit about the other program.
So the MSc in Applied Linguistics is not a million miles away from the MSc in English Language and Linguistics. They're not completely different, and there is some overlap between the two MScs, and I'm sure Varshini and Chi will talk a little bit about that later and their experiences of that potentially. The main difference is that the MSc in Applied Linguistics is a slightly more focused course, and it has a specialism, as you might expect, in applied linguistics. So what that means is that while you will be on the same courses as many English language and linguistics MSc students, you will also have your own core course, which is called Applying Linguistics, which will really help you focus on the domain of applied linguistics and the types of things that we study. So this might include things like looking at accent bias, looking at language education, language learning, and language teaching, forensic linguistics, how linguists can use language working with government organizations or bodies like the police, and other topics such as language and sustainability, language and environmentalism. These are some of the areas that we cover, and some of our staff specialisms specifically within applied linguistics. So these are some of the kind of core research strands we cover, and as a result, these are some of the types of topics that we'll cover in both that core course, Applying Linguistics, and in the broader offer that the Applied Linguistics MSc has as well. Okay. But we've got lots of other research strengths which are relevant to both the MScs, and I might let Joanna talk a little bit more about that.
Yes, so as I said at the start, the MSc in English Language and Linguistics is our general flexible program, but obviously the staff who teach on this program specialize in their respective fields. So you will be working with world-class specialists in sociolinguistics or in historical linguistics, or we have colleagues who specialize in fields such as onomastics, which is the study of names, people's names, place names. That this is quite a strong field here in Glasgow. We also have colleagues who specialize in phonetics and phonology. So we cover in this program basically the whole structure of language, from sounds through words, through semantics, through pragmatics, through other aspects of language in context. So language in society, for example, which is one of the overlaps with the other program. I think within the breadth of the English Language and Linguistics program, I think our special characteristics here is that you can take all of these as kind of insights into the historical dimension as well. So quite a lot of our staff have specialism in historical linguistics, myself included. And we also have a great focus on this language situation in Scotland. So not only do we offer our students expertise in varieties of English, around the world and across Britain, but we specifically focus on Scotland and the range of Scottish English accents and varieties, but also Scots, which is a minoritized language, and we also cover or offer courses which can introduce you to this language, or which can develop your understanding of the linguistic situation in Scotland in more depth. I'm just trying to think what else is there in terms of our strengths. I think we might come to that later when we talk with Varshini and Chi, what specific topics they found most interesting, and whether they've been inspired by any of our staff and their specific research strengths and research projects. I think anybody, if anyone has specific interests and is wondering whether this is also something they can study here at the University of Glasgow, please put your question in the chat and we'll do our best to pick it up. So I think maybe this is actually a good moment to introduce Varshini and Chi, and simply ask you, why you've decided to come to Glasgow and pick this specific program. Varshini, if you can say a bit about the program you're on right now, so English Language and Linguistics, and then we'll move on to Chi to talk a little bit about applied linguistics. So Varshni, can you say a few words about yourself and why you've chosen Glasgow for your degree?
Perfect. Yes, thank you, Yana. It's very lovely to be here today. I'm Varshni. I'm from India. I did my undergrad in linguistics here, so this is almost like my 5th year in Glasgow. I chose this program because I was really interested, again, in how flexible the degree program, like the structure was. It's very much tailored to your own interests. So I'm primarily sort of interested in corpus linguistics and critical discourse analysis, but I also wanted to expand my skills in theoretical linguistics. So I got to specialize in semantics and pragmatics over my university years. I've also taken courses from applied linguistics, such as multilingualism, forensic linguistics, and things like that. That's pretty much why I chose Glasgow.
I'm really pleased you mentioned corpus linguistics, because this is the kind of skill-based course which really cuts through both programs, and I think students very often choose this course in order to learn those skills and those analytical tools which will help them to interrogate big data sets. So I think that's a really, really useful thing for people to know. Yeah, thank you so much. And Chi, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here today with you guys. So to introduce myself, my name is Chi. I'm from Vietnam, and unlike Varshni, I did my undergrad in Vietnam, and it was in teaching English to speakers of other languages. So not necessarily a linguistics background, but I had a few courses, introductory courses to linguistics, and I felt inspired to pursue it because I felt that it was more aligned with my interests rather than pursuing another master's degree in teaching methodologies. So for my master's, I chose applied linguistics. And why Glasgow specifically? First of all, because I had a few friends who had already gone here, and I spoke to them, and I felt like the environment here was very friendly, and I felt that it was a good mix of a not too busy city, but also not too quaint. So you could have your community here, really build a community here. And at the same time, the course selection was quite good. I was also interested in corpus linguistics and multilingualism, and I got to study all of that, which I didn't get a chance to in undergrad. And yeah, another reason is the scholarships that the University of Glasgow offers. I think last year there were 300 slots for the Global Leadership Scholarship. So I got one of that. And yeah, that was one of the reasons why I chose Glasgow.
That's excellent, and really nice to hear about your journey and the fact that you have talked to your friends, and you feel like you can build a community here as well. And it seems like people have had good experiences of this university and this city before, and this is something that draws more people in. So we're very, very happy to have you here, obviously, and we hope this trend continues. But as you said, you are the best ambassadors really for the program. And we are really pleased to be joined by another student here, Zoe, who is also on the English Language and Linguistics master's program. So welcome, Zoe. We were just talking about why students choose Glasgow, why they come here, and what sort of background they have, whether this is something that students should think of in advance, or is it okay to come from different backgrounds? And maybe you can say a few words about what brought you to Glasgow, and why your specific choice of program, why has that worked out for you?
Yeah, so I did my undergraduate degree in linguistics, and I think the University of Glasgow came up when I was talking with one of my undergraduate professors about where to apply for postgraduate programs. And I'd always kind of wanted to live in Scotland, so that was definitely part of it. I love the weather here. I love all the people here are so nice.
Zoe, no one has ever said that before.
No, that's what everyone keeps telling me, and I don't understand why, because I love it. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and the weather's exactly the same as at home.
Nice.
And so I really like it. And the more that I looked at the program online, the more that I thought that this was a place that I would enjoy being, which has definitely turned out to be true. I picked English language and linguistics because I'd already done an undergraduate degree in linguistics, and I wanted the freedom to pick whichever classes I wanted to take, to kind of take things that I hadn't taken in undergrad, which I feel like I've taken a really wide variety of classes this year, and I've really enjoyed that.
That's great.
Great.
Really?
I mean, I might pick up on this question, and I think one or two people in the chat had questions on this as well. Actually, I think Shazib had a question along these lines about prerequisites for joining the program. And I mean, all three of you have talked a little bit about your own backgrounds. And so, for example, Varshni obviously has come from ourselves, from English language and linguistics. Zoe, you come from a linguistics background, whereas Chi, you came from a more teaching background. And so students do come from these and a broader variety of backgrounds as well. So it's not the case that if you have no background in linguistics, you will not succeed on this program at all. I mean, there are lots of people who come from a variety of different backgrounds. Often they're related. So, for example, people who might have an undergraduate degree in things like business English, or in kind of a related discipline like English literature or modern languages. I know that seeing some of the applications for the MSc Applied Linguistics come in over the last year or so, we have people coming in with degrees in sociology or psychology, or kind of broad social science or humanities degrees. And often these types of applicants, these types of students are actually really well set up as well to do quite well in what is a more linguistically oriented degree. So that's something I think is important to emphasize, that whether you've kind of got this linguistic background, which might be really useful, or if you don't, you can do really well with us. So it's not the case that you should only apply if you've got a linguistics background, as the variety of different experiences here have shown. One thing I wanted to pick up on as well, and this is a question I think we had, which came in before the video started, is the types of skills that students learn on each program. I mean, I can talk a little bit about this in more general terms, but it might be useful then for me to kind of throw this up back to Chi and Varshni and Zoe. I mean, I know that at the moment in the kind of particularly the employment landscape, there is this kind of emphasis on AI, and I'm sure everyone is very aware of this. And one of the things that we think we do well in English language and linguistics and at the university more generally is that we provide something which AI can't really often provide, which is critical thinking skills. And particularly on my courses, but I know Joanna does this in her courses, and most of our other colleagues do this, is we really try and get people to think critically about what you're reading, about the social theories that we engage with, about the linguistic theories that we engage with. So you are, to a certain extent, going to be challenged on both of these MSc programs. We're going to be interested and ask you what you think, and you can have a different opinion to what I might have, but that is still a valid opinion, and we're more interested in you developing your way of reasoning and arguing, and we think that's something that hopefully you'll come out of the programs with. And as well as things like your writing skills and your analytic skills. I mean, Joanna and Varshni have kind of alluded to the corpus linguistic skills, for example, learning how to use a new method which may be useful in your career later on, depending on what you choose to go into. Writing skills, I know that in the courses I teach, for example, I try and design my assessments so that students get a variety of experiences of writing for different audiences. So not just kind of your standard academic essays, which are important to be able to do, but things like writing for audiences who don't know anything about linguistics, and you're trying to make things understandable and easy to digest for those audiences. I'll chuck this over to Chi and Varshni and Zoe now. I mean, maybe we start with Varshni again. Are there any skills that you can think of that you've picked up through the courses that you've kind of been learning over the last year or so?
I think one of the main ones is definitely critical thinking, because I've written so many different assignments, like ranging from traditional literature reviews to like reading reports and things like that. So you gain so much of like flexibility when it comes to analyzing different linguistic data sets. So I've dealt with, for instance, manuscripts or like onomasticons and things like that, and obviously large scale corpora. So you understand the value that each sort of unique linguistic evidence offers. And I think being able to talk about that critically is such a valuable skill, not just in academia, but also beyond. Apart from that, I think time management and communication, because we balance so many different assignments. So being able to sort of time block and create your own schedule so that you meet your deadlines and submit good work is something that I've really sort of learned over the last 5 years. And communication, because like you said, different assignments require different things out of you. So some assignments you have to be extremely sort of academic and formal, whereas in blog posts, I wouldn't say it's completely informal, but there's the register is slightly different. So being able to handle that is also important, and yeah, something that I've learned.
Great. And how about yourself, Chi?
To add to that, I agree, like critical thinking skills are something that I learned a lot in this program and got to develop in a way that I never did in my undergrad. For me, I think doing these assignments are essentially designed to explore like issues that we maybe have touched on in class, but not have like gone into really much details. So on your own, you're able to really think about these issues and be able to explore these issues. And from doing so, I kind of learn a lot about how to think in a way that not only take in information on the surface, but also dive deeper and be able to ask questions about the validity of these findings, for example. And another thing is research skills. So something special that we have on our program is the research seminars that we host. And I'm able to approach a lot of different fields in linguistics that I may not have a chance to if there had not been these seminars. So for example, we had talks from corpus linguists, interactional linguists, and then we were able to meet and interact with the researchers after and ask them questions, how they did their research, and that was very inspiring for me. Yeah, I think the biggest thing I've gained also is that my mindset has changed. So this is not necessarily a skill, but I think it was very useful for me as a teacher in the future to be able to think about language in a way that does not necessarily like differentiate from right and wrong. So when I think about English, I don't teach them what is right English and what is wrong English, and you can't speak in a certain accent. And so from a TESOL background, I think that was very useful because many Vietnamese learners, they are afraid to communicate in English because they don't want to make mistakes in their pronunciation, or they have insecurities about like the way that they sound or the making grammar mistakes. And so this program has really helped me see multilingualism speakers in a much more empowering way.
That's such an important thing to say, Chi. I think, and it will chime with people, you know, excuse me, who are non-native speakers of English, like myself. You know, we have to kind of overcome these anxieties as well. So I think the way this one-year program is structured is exactly to enable people to develop those skills, those critical thinking skills, but also invest in yourself. I think it's a really great moment when you can really concentrate on your own interests and just develop the things that you don't really have time to develop elsewhere. And as Louis was saying earlier, because the employment market is so volatile right now, and we have to be responsive to these pressures of the changing technologies and whatever will help us succeed in this world. I think it's really important to kind of take a step away from looking to get a specific vocational training and concentrate more on these skills which you have mentioned. You know, the ability to assess evidence, to be a bit more flexible in your own way, in your own approach, in your own thinking about your career. So I think these were really, really important insights. So thanks for sharing. Anything you would like to add, Zoe, to what we've just said? Because I'm conscious of some of the questions in the chat, so it would be useful to pause and have a look at those as well.
Yeah, I think Chi touched on this briefly, but kind of the ability to go more in depth on a topic. I think a lot of the assessments for some of the classes I've taken, you're kind of looking for something that was mentioned in the class, one of the topics from one of the weeks that was kind of broader. And then you need that ability to kind of narrow that down to a much more specific subtopic that falls within that.
Yeah. And I think that actually links quite well to what we also wanted to talk about, which is the facilities and the resources and the wide range of available facilities that students have here at the University of Glasgow. So maybe let's have a look at the questions in the chat, whether anything sort of links to that. People are asking about a career path. I think we've sort of talked about that already. I think, you know, this program or these two programs really prepare you for a variety of jobs, a variety of careers which rely on communication, which rely on critical thinking, which rely on a deep understanding of human contact and the use of specifically English language, but also other languages. We talked a lot about multilingualism. We talked about language variation in Scotland, which are large parts of what we offer, what we discuss. So I think drawing on this knowledge and on these skills equips you for jobs in teaching, in journalism, in consulting, in other areas. Sometimes, you know, people come to us and take this year to sort of top up a different degree, as we said. You know, people are asking here about speech engineering. So of course, you know, collaborating with our colleagues who specialize in phonetics and using these facilities I've mentioned. We've got a speech studio, we've got a eye tracker, we've got, what else have we got? Students, what other equipment have you used? Did you take any phonetics courses? Varshni, do you remember in your undergrad?
I'm taking methods in phonetics right now.
All right.
Or I guess I'm basically done with it. But the speech lab and the recording studios, those were really impressive. There's 2 different like recording studio rooms within the recording studio. And if you're doing something related to phonetics, you need to record, you can get in contact with the person that kind of manages that and book time, borrow. They've got recorders that you can borrow if you can't do it in the recording studio. And there's the computer lab that we used for corpus linguistics as well.
Yes, we have our dedicated computer space for our students. So that's another thing. Plus, obviously, we've got excellent library facilities as well. And I think there are also recording booths or sound booths in the library. So there's a whole array of facilities which are available to our students as well. Any other things to pick up on?
Well, I was going to pick up, Joanna, on a couple of questions in the chat, which were about course choices, because it does kind of link to what we were just talking about there with resources and facilities. So there's one question, a practical question about when students are expected to choose their courses. And what I would say about that is, when you are completing your registration, you will put down all of your course choices. And what we always say there is put down the courses that you think you're going to want to take, all right? But that doesn't mean that those are set in stone, because what we do in September, usually the week before classes will start, is myself and Joanna and other staff members, we will sit down individually with each student on the MSc English Language and Linguistics and on the MSc Applied Linguistics, and we will talk through your course choices. I remember, I think, Chi, we did this all the way back in September, which feels like a long time ago, but I remember that we were talking through what it is that you want to get out of your MSc program, and we can help you tailor your course choices to that. So if, for example, you have a background in teaching and you want to learn a little bit more about that, you might choose our colleague Angela Gayton's course, which looks at language learning specifically. If you know that you've an interest in corpus linguistics, then you might want to choose Dr. James Balfour's course, which very inventively is titled Corpus Linguistics. That's what it says in the tin. So you are able to change your course choices to a certain extent, and we will help talk you through all of the kind of pros and cons of taking this course or that course individually, so that we can help you understand what it is that you are going to get from your MSc at the very beginning. And as part of that, I mean, I see that there was another question from Shazib in the chat asking about collaborating with other faculties and university departments, particularly around NLP and corpus AI and corpus linguistics. In terms of corpus linguistics, we have one of, I would argue, and Joanna as a corpus linguist can correct me if I'm wrong here, but one of the best linguistics departments in the world for corpus linguistics. We have a lot of research expertise in corpus linguistics, to the extent that sometimes staff members arrive, like myself, with no corpus research expertise, and we end up doing corpus linguistic research, as I'm doing now. So we have got that expertise within English language and linguistics as a subject area. But if you want to take other courses which might help you move in a different direction, for example, NLP, you might want to pair your corpus linguistics training with something else, then you can take courses from across the College of Arts and Humanities if you're doing one of our postgraduate degrees as well. And again, those meetings in September are a good time for us to talk through exactly how you do that. You could come to us with specific courses that you want to take, and we can look at your timetable, see if that works with you. So again, we're really tailoring your MSc program to what it is you want to get out of it. So that is possible.
Oh, there is another really interesting question here from Angela about applied linguistics and looking at patient-provider interactions and medical humanities. And I'm really pleased you've asked this question, because actually there is quite a strong research focus on medical humanities at Glasgow overall. In general, we have a research center for medical humanities, which is based at the College of Arts and Humanities, and colleagues from across the college, so English literature, information studies, our colleagues as well, corpus linguists, collaborate on topics related to communication in medical settings. And I think these interactions between care providers or medical professionals and patients is something that people look at increasingly. And certainly we do have research expertise in this area, and there is a kind of vibrant research community around these very topics here. So I'm glad you raised this, and the answer is yes. You can absolutely study something related to these topics, either as part of your applied linguistics program, if you want to go in the kind of more applied route. Louis can correct me if I'm wrong here, but you can also do a topic related to medical humanities within the larger, the more general English language and linguistics program, if you want to top it up with a slightly different portfolio of courses and have a more sort of general overview. So absolutely, yes.
Definitely. Another question here is regarding opportunities for internships, research assistantships, or industry collaborations during the program. This is quite a well-timed question, actually, because we currently have a number of students who are in Vietnam, who are doing an internship there in this kind of month or so window that students have between submitting their assignments after their semester 2 courses and before they get feedback on those assignments and they start preparing their dissertation over the course of the summer. So this is an opportunity which students have to apply to every year, and it's been running for a couple of years now, this internship opportunity, and it seems like it's going really successfully. So we have strong research partnerships with universities and students, past and present in Vietnam, as Chi has kind of testified to. So there's strong research links there. So that's one of the opportunities that you do have. And then in terms of research assistantships, this is something that comes up now and again, but is dependent on staff having funded research projects where we need research assistants. So this very much depends on the type of the research that you as a student might be doing and what your specialties are and whether there are those opportunities available. I don't tend to know always whether those are going to be available, because it depends on whether funding research projects for staff usually come through. And if so, we're very happy, not only because we're able to do the research, but also because we're able to help students gain research expertise in addition to what you've gained in your courses and your dissertation, by providing those opportunities. So it's not the case that we can always provide those, but often we are able to if we have those research funding opportunities available, often during the summer, usually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But maybe to pick up on one thing we said about collaborations, I think within our research community, there is always a chance to collaborate with partners from across the university, and also increasingly, I think, beyond the university with the wider community. Glasgow is a very sort of community-oriented university, and I think everybody benefits from it. Chi mentioned earlier our research seminars, so this is something that, it's an opportunity to meet colleagues from further afield. We invite speakers to come and present their research, talk to our students, and many of our colleagues also collaborate across the university and will involve our students in those collaborations as well, or at least give students access to other types of research done in the colleges of social sciences, for example. We've got links with computing science, we've got links with various other departments in social sciences, and across the College of Arts and Humanities. These would be our most kind of prominent collaborations. I think it would be useful for people online also to hear a little bit more about the kind of practical aspect of studying here. I think there is a question about a typical week. So to maybe invite our students to reflect on that. What does a typical week of study look like for you, Zoe?
It kind of depended on the semester. I think semester 1 was a little, I was taking one less class than I did in the second semester.
Yes.
So in the second semester, I was taking 3 classes and then also research training. Mm-hmm. So I had class between 11 and 3 every Tuesday and Thursday. Mm-hmm. And then I think 11 to 1 on Fridays. And then usually I would kind of do like my studying and classwork on the weekends, which I know that's not everybody's preference, but that was my preference because there's a lot of sports and clubs that you can join here. Mm. So I joined the tennis club, and I had like tennis matches on Monday, tennis team training on Mondays and Fridays. So that was usually what my schedule looked like, was tennis, class, and then on the weekends I would do the readings, do work for midterms, and study, things like that.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand also how, there's so much to juggle when you're a student, and just to understand what works for you, and how to use the time during the week to your best advantage. I think the emphasis obviously is on individual independent study, but as you said, contact hours are kind of spread out across the week. Was that your experience, Chi and Varshni, as well? Maybe Chi can go first.
I had a similar experience, but for me, I think it also depends on the hours of your classes that you've enrolled in. For example, in semester 1, I had fewer modules, but they were very spread out. So I was on campus, I think, 5 days a week. But then in semester 2, I had the same amount of classes, or maybe a few less, but I was only on campus for 2 days a week.
Right.
And so if I was on campus every day, then usually I would study in the library after, like, during the breaks. And in semester 2, I tend to go home after, or like do study on like a free Monday, for example, and then spend time with my friends, go traveling, because Scotland is very beautiful. You obviously have Edinburgh and the Highlands and Stirling. So I spent a lot of time doing that as well. But that's
absolutely make the best out of the year you're here. Some people stay for longer, but actually this is one of the questions from the chat as well. How long does the program take? So it's a 1-year program. So we keep talking about semesters, but it's really divided into 3 parts. So we've got the first part, which is semester 1 in running between September and finishing in December. And then we come back for semester 2, January till more or less April. And now the students are entering their 3rd phase of the year, which is dissertation. And that's the time, mostly late spring and during the summer, when they are working on their independent individual project. So they've already done all the preparation required. They are now submitting their dissertation proposals. They will be working with their supervisors over the summer to submit their dissertations in August. So that's the kind of yearly design of what the program looks like. So I hope this was also helpful for people who were wondering about that aspect. And just very quickly to go back to Tressa, who's asking whether we've had any English teachers in the English Language and Linguistics program. Yes, it really just depends on your interests, what you would like to do next, whether you would like to go back to some of your sort of interests from your undergraduate program, whether you have your pedagogy already in place and you just want to build on it, for example, specialize in phonetics or in semantics or in more historical aspects. That's what we can offer in the general program. But if you're more inclined towards more TESOL related topics and want to develop your pedagogical understanding just along the lines that Chi was describing, for example, then I would suggest the Applied Linguistics program. Anything else we should pick up on in the chat?
Another question from Teresa again, actually, which I think is a useful question to give you a sense of what the actual experience on the MSc programs is like, is how big the programs are typically, and whether most of the students in the program are international students. So with combined English Language and Linguistics and Applied Linguistics, both of these programs, you're looking in a typical year, usually around 40 to 45 students. And it usually splits somewhere around 30 to 35 for Applied Linguistics and maybe 10 to 15 for English Language and Linguistics. And I would say the majority of students are from international backgrounds, and this is something that we use to our advantage, right? Because if you're a linguistics program, you've got people from all around the world who speak all different languages, and that's something which is really useful when it comes to things like discussion in class. And I know that I try and prompt students to kind of talk about their linguistic backgrounds or to come up with research projects, either for their courses or for dissertations, which draw on those rather than just forcing everyone to do projects which look at English, even though you're more than welcome to do that. So yeah, the programs usually combined around 40 to 45 students, and most of them are international, which usually gives a really great mix of students. And another question which I'm going to have to answer, because this is kind of
I was going to say, Louis, that's one. That's
Joanna knows exactly which question I'm going to answer, which is the question about feminist sociolinguistics, which is exactly what I do, really. I'm a sociolinguist who looks at language and gender. This is the short answer is take the courses that I teach, I would say, is probably the easiest, the shortcut to get to this kind of interest that you have. So this interest in how language, gender, and power intersect, how gender is performed through language, how girls and young women communicate in the digital age. I'm sure Zoe and Varshini and Chi will be able to tell you that they're probably fed up of me talking about this. They've had so much of me talking about this broader research as well as my own on this topic. So this is one of the areas of kind of strength that we have. But there are lots of different ways that you could go about this. So I tend to use sociolinguistic and discourse analytic methods, but you could do this through historical methods. You could do this through corpus linguistic methods. There's lots of ways that you could approach this topic. So this is something that I'm happy to talk to students about, especially during the individual meetings that you will receive information about, which we are setting up in the coming weeks and months. So we're happy to talk to applicants individually about the kinds of things they're interested in.
Yes, and maybe just because we are nearing the close of our meeting this morning, which I hope has been useful and definitely a lot of fun for us talking about what we do and talking to our students. One question is asking about students going to do a PhD or other postgrad courses after this course. And I mean, it really depends on individual preference and plans. Obviously, this course prepares people to undertake the next stage in their academic careers, and people have done that. So, from experience, that's absolutely something that is open to anyone who chooses to pursue a PhD or an academic career. We can also give advice, obviously, to students who would like to do that. And I think in terms of courses beyond the modules that we offer, beyond the options that we offer, does the department allow auditing or informal attendance in other classes? I think here we have to be very careful, because the program is designed in such a way that we know you will be able to continue with your studies. We know you will be able to tackle the kinds of requirements, assessments, everything that the program requires. And of course, some students are very ambitious and very eager and want to do a lot of things, but sometimes we have to curb this enthusiasm a little bit and maybe just channel it and make sure that the students can cope with the kind of workload that they have taken on. And I think we can always have a conversation and advise you on whether you can sit in and audit other courses, but it will have to be discussed on an individual basis. And, sometimes students have a lot of background in a particular area, and it makes sense for them, for example, to sit in on a course which they've already done and they want a refresher or something along these lines. There might be, questions around whether it's really useful for you and so on, or whether there is space on a particular course. So, these things have to be discussed individually. So I would say generally, maybe let's be careful about that, but obviously we can always have a chat. So is there anything that our students would like to say as the kind of final reflection on their program, on their experience at Glasgow, what is the one thing that you would say is something that comes to mind when you're thinking of your studies and your time here over the last months? And let me start with Chi this time.
So the one thing that I would say is, one advice is that don't stress too much about your backgrounds coming here. That was something that I thought a lot about before coming here. I was doing refreshers on my linguistics notes. And then when I came here, I felt very stressed because I didn't have an idea about what I wanted to do for my dissertation. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to explore many different strands of research within applied linguistics. And I had no idea what I wanted to do for my dissertation and was very worried about that. But the thing is, you shouldn't have to, because coming here, our professors, our lecturers, they're very supportive, and they do not assume that you have a background or you have something that you're like a dissertation idea already, and you are able to build that throughout your time here. And I would advise you to do so, because when you come into contact with your professors, your friends, and these researchers, you're able to see better what kind of field suits you, what kind of research area is best for you. So I would say that, like, don't stress too much about having a background or having a dissertation idea on hand already. Just enjoy the time as best as you can.
Varshni.
I think the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about Glasgow linguistics here is the department. Like, everyone is super friendly and approachable. And if you decide to come here, I definitely recommend trying to sort of form meaningful professional networks with everyone, because they're going to help you not just during the course here, but also in terms of like professional development. Because I've talked to so many staff members here, and I've got genuinely like good advice from everyone. They've got dedicated office hours that you can attend and have a chat with them about like your coursework, or even like something interesting that you're reading and want to have a chat about, really. You can get in touch with them even beyond that and try to set up separate meetings. So you just try to make the most of your time here by forming meaningful relations with people.
That's brilliant to hear. Thank you, Chi and Varshni. And Zoe, maybe for some final reflections.
Yeah, I think it's really similar to what Chi and Varshni have said, but just how supportive the department is here, and beyond just the professors, the other students in the program. Like, Chi and I took corpus linguistics together, Varshni and I took forensic linguistics together, and I think no matter what classes you're taking, I found that everybody else in the class, like, if you have questions, kind of, you can always ask your fellow students and then the professors, but just everybody's super supportive, and kind of we're all working on this together. So
that's so nice to hear. Thanks, Zoe.
Perfect. Well, on that note, I think we've managed our timing pretty well. So I don't want to keep everyone longer than we said we would. So I just want to say thank you very much to Chi and Varshni and Zoe, and also to you, Joanna, for all the discussion. And thank you to everyone who's given us really interesting questions, and hopefully we've managed to answer those. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming today, and hopefully we'll see you in Glasgow soon.